Just a quick info for both of these teams. Infamous was able to secure the 15th position in the Valor Cup C3. So that's just a couple down the line against Unity, who were second. And yeah, they're fairly new in the competitive scene, but they're looking to be one of those contenders that we'll be seeing. And yes, so we'll be just talking about Vanquish later on, as the draft is now ready. So game number 1, drafting is underway.
Yeah, Infamous top 15 and Vanquish is top 18. So in terms of their placements rather, in the Valor Cup C3, they're not too far from each other, but it's no surprise to see that Superman is gonna get banned. Earlier we saw Murad and Zephys are one of the top contested picks in their series, so I wonder what it is, or what is it this time for them. It looks like it's gonna be a Zephys ban.
That's Superman and Senyo. So this is gonna be
Senyo,
a bit more
rather.
because we're gonna be seeing a whole other chunk of the Indian niche pickage. So a L'Oreal, a high mobility mage that can just scale out of control in the late game, and we'll be seeing a Preda as well as a Joker. And look at this, more of picks we don't see every day.
Actually, this is very meta. This is a very meta drafting from both Infamous and Vanquish. Malak, Lubu, we finally see them on the field. Ryoma and Zephys make their way towards their second rotation for the Vanquish draft. But I really like the Preda and the Joker pick. A lot of explosive damage. Their late game potential is good. Their wave clear is also there with the Preda, especially when he charges up his waves. But then again, I love the fact that the draft is so fast at this point, and there's so many assassins just gonna be roaming around on Vanquish's side. But meanwhile, with that Lindis pick, it just makes me wanna think about the early game rotations and the vision that they're gonna be having. And I know that the spikes are definitely gonna be faster with the teammate on their side.
Interesting that most of these teams kind of gravitate towards the Lumbar, the Alice. It's actually open right now. No bans on that particular hero, but she's still not seeing as much love as I would think she should have. Although, it's also kind of interesting that we'll be seeing teaming brought into the field, as it is going to be played by a cutie named from Infamous Size Tutoru teaming. I don't know, for some reason, they kind of meshed out well together. So again, a pretty sophisticated in meta matchup. This is what I thought I wouldn't see in the league, but they are kind of bringing it to the table. We'll be watching a Malik and a Lubu, high intensity hero. We're also seeing a Ryoma, so that's also something.
Yeah, a lot of strong side laners already being picked out. I'm really happy to see that Superman was actually also got banned as well. Not gonna allow that release into the field. But just as you mentioned, I want to see more Alice. I guess we've seen Alice at game number 1 being used by Unity. Super duper flawlessly executed in terms of roaming. But then again, Lumber also well for their composition as well for the side of Vanquish. And I really expect really good engages and disengage on their side. But one thing to note is that the L'Oreal as the mage, your mobile mage, it's very contrast between a Preda matchup versus a L'Oreal matchup. L'Oreal may take a while to round. You could either try to make a snowball and get your spikes faster, but on paper, it's more like, okay, I'm gonna try maybe mid-game to late game. My cooldowns are gonna be faster, and that means it's gonna be hard to catch me this time around.
Yeah. This is a very quick question. Is Endure still available?
I believe version 14, maybe it's not available anymore, so she might be picking a different talent.
Exactly. So we'll be passing it on to iRequest, a duo, and Luxuria to get us into game or match number 2. So guys, you know what to do.
Yeah, thank you for that. And here we are with Infamous up against Vanquish. Alongside myself is Luxuria. How you doing?
Hello, and I'm pretty excited to actually cast this series. I mean, it's been a while since I actually casted for AOV, and It's really good to be back. And interesting draft once again. It's just like Asurai mentioned, another wave of basically the Indian server coming through. However, Infamous, it's pretty meta throughout. But it's just that, I spoke to certain players before the game, the tournament actually started, and they were telling me that squishes are no longer like prioritized as much, and instead, like Asrai did mention earlier on, that a lot of players, a lot of teams are going for tankier, warrior-like heroes, so you can just dive, pick up one hero, kill them, and then basically we saw that from Unity as well, from our first match, right? So basically what they did was they had really high mobility, really high CC tanky hero, and it just dove and basically just rotated as a team.
Mm-hmm. Well, looking on the side of Vanquish, I'm happy to see the pickup of the Joker they got through. Another Ryoma coming in to play Emprater for the first time. We will be seeing him today at least. But a lot of first-time picks as well if you look for Infamous, as there's going to be the Teamy and the Lindis and the Lubu. Even pretty much their whole team is actually first pick for today. But I mean, we're only in the second game here, so we'll see how it plays out. Teamy making that rotation down to actually, which is I just imagine it with Teamy and it's so cute. But Bendover is gonna get I maybe shouldn't say that, getting top lane, and now in the mid is going to be Prater. So I think that so far, no really early aggression, even though most heroes have hit their, actually everyone has hit their level 2 already. So neither team wants to be the one to engage just yet, and they're playing more of a reactionary game by the looks of it.
Yep, although we saw a pretty much different game coming out in the first series of the day between Unity and Alpha Q, where we saw just so much aggression, controlled aggression from Unity.
Yep, and it's going to be Tuturu going to be able to get out of that one. And meanwhile, I think I like this roam from the Lumber. We saw Lumber picked up a lot in the earlier 2 matches, and although wasn't able to get the full, I guess, utilization of his kit, you can see it here that in the roaming he is able to tank up, provide the CC. And when you talk about squishy picks not being so good, you really need those to balance your team, to allow those squishier carries and such to find the positioning that they need. And there's going to be Vanquish playing the first card as they go for the Abyssal Dragon and manage to secure it without any contest from the side of Infamous. So both teams going very passive, and it's such a change of motion compared to the first game where we saw Unity just so aggressive from the start. First game, complete snowball. Second, they just kept their aggression at a very high rate throughout. So Vanquish and Infamous, I feel like even if they go on through here, would struggle very much against teams like Unity, but we'll have to see what they're able to do as they go up with a rotation to the top. It's going to be a pause coming in from Infamous, I believe.
Yep,
and
that was...
just as they get the gank onto, I believe, in the top lane would be that of Ryoma.
Yeah, it will be Ryoma. Ryoma was trying to go for that Sentinel, if I see correctly. Yeah, I think it is a Sentinel. And I think this is basically a tactical pause coming out from the side of Vanquish. And the Abyssal Dragon take, it intrigued me because Infamous actually saw them trying to take, or Lumber was rotating, saw that it was getting taken, and yet nothing was done whatsoever, and it was basically a free Abyssal Dragon to the side of Vanquish. However, just look at the team comps, I do understand why they are looking to play a little more passive as compared to, say, the first series. And they really just want the heroes to just, scale up into the mid-late game, like that of Joker, when you have a lot more damage, and especially for the side of Infamous, when you have Lubu, when you have Malak, when you have that of Lindis, right? You want that late game fight, and here you go.
Yeah, and there's going to be the knockup coming through from Lumber. Do they have the return damage? Roma over the wall, and there's going to be the Praetor coming up. There's going to be SY going so very low. Tutu running for their life, but dodges out the skill shot from Praetor, but walks right into that of the Lumber. And that is the kill secure potential as talking about with this team comp, as long as he's able to land, as someone is able to land. And I'm not talking about just someone, I'm talking about someone. landing that with the lumber, landing the CC. The rest of the team, as long as they follow through with the damage, they should be good. And look at this, they've kind of distracted or distorted the infamous rotation now, as they were all up on that top side, and it leaves the Joker down in the bot to really bully out this remind me of the name, I think Malik. So yeah, we just haven't seen him for so long, and not as well as you. It's been a while for myself since I've been casting AOV up until today. So it is nice to be back, a fresh breath of air into this game, which is so fast-paced as we see going on there. Praetor not quite going to land that damage onto Raph underneath the turret, and Tuturu is going to be there for the save. So Vanquish so far look like the aggressors. They've chosen that role, whether it's based on their team comp or playstyle so far. But we'll see how long they can hold that, as there's going to be the rotation down to the bot, the gank, and they might be able to pick it up, but he's going to be able to blink under that turret, turns around, and now we see someone on the lumber just kind of trying to disengage this pressure, but it's also buying time for that Praetor to make the roam. And this is the kind of three-man squad we've been seeing from the side of Vanquish, is that of the Praetor, the Zephys, and the lumber, and it's been working out well so far. We'll see what they can do here. Zephys goes in, gets the knock up, gets a fair amount of damage. Someone joins in and secures the kill. And yeah, once again, 0-2, it's not much, but it's definitely enough to get them going, opening up a second Abyssal Dragon for them.
Yep, getting the Abyssal Dragon definitely will, push them quicker into that late game, getting their items much faster. And I'm really liking what, Vanquish is bringing out onto the table here. Just rotating as a team. However, Aswa in the top lane trying to push, going for that sneaky push down in that tower there. Not quite successful, but we are looking at this rotation coming up from Vanquish right now, or yeah, basically Vanquish right now, and we are seeing them basically Praetor. Oh, that was one basic attack.
Doing a lot of work, but he's not going to give up. He goes for the chase and finishes the kill onto SY, but needs to be careful about returning into the enemy jungle. But Tuturu, actually with no team backup, will be the one to get caught out. A bit of a debate there. He does get the revive, but straight away blowing down as Lumber joins in the fight, and they pick up that kill. Roma dealing out a lot of damage himself, and that's something that we spoke about in the very first matchup that we saw that Roma was played in, and just the fact they can really hold his own when he's left on his own. But right now, a lot of these team fight situations, he's able to apply that extra damage near, because when we're looking for the damage sources, especially coming out of Vanquish, you have that of the Joker, the Praetor, and the Roma being the key ones, and it's just so overwhelming in a sense when we get into these team fight situations that it's tough for Infamous to back themselves up on anything.
Yep, and now Infamous with the very tactical pause. At this point in time, they are sitting at 11.5 versus Vanquish at 15k, close to 15,000. It is not a big difference considering what we saw. The goal difference between Unity and that of Alpha Q. However, we are looking at more items going over to the side of Vanquish, with 2 Abyssal Dragon, take 1 tower in the name as well, and 5 kills. Not a lot, but they are definitely starting to ramp up and starting to put down pressure against the side of Infamous. I was actually thinking, with Teamy on the side of Infamous, they would have roamed better, and on top of that, they would have better roaming potential, especially with the Lupu so high, sustained. Lindis as well in the early game. I know she takes some time to actually ramp up, but even then, I've seen other players actually play on that Lindis, and it's just so very strong if you know how to move and rotate. However, I think it's just down to Infamous's early rotations, as the previous casters, Asura and Riku, did mention as well, that the more aggressive you are, you basically set the pace of the game, and if you can actually set the pace, get a lead, you are pretty much set in AOV, since it's such a fast-paced game overall.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree with you there, and what you were talking about, the Infamous team comp kind of comes through to say, well, that Vanquish, they were the ones to make the first move. They've been able to ever since out-rotate that of Infamous, and they are the ones to dictate how the game is going to be played, not allowing that Lindis to ever be grouped up with the team, they always have this man advantage, especially in the roaming situations for ganking and finding fights in the jungle, where Infamous, I'm sure that team comp, it's not a bad team comp at all, and if they were the ones to really have that synergy and keep together, they would be able to make something happen. But right now, it's a bit of disruption within that team, and Vanquish taking full control of that.
Yep, and here we see Anubis actually missing out on that skill shot here. But even then, as the players are getting reoriented into this game itself, you know, there's a lot more to talk about. We are seeing more classic pickups, right, from the side of Infamous, but it's just not working out just yet. With the Malik, you think he's much more present, you know, with your big ultimate, that giant space of knockup. But however, Zephyr's going over to the side of Vanquish. We are seeing here the power of Zephyr's.
Well, there's going to be the gank down to the bot tower, and Sko on the Malik is going to use the ultimate to get out, but instead decides to stick around trying to hold on to that tower, and it's going to be all for naught because it allows the side of Vanquish to then go for the Abyssal Dragon and get the tower anyway. I mean, there wasn't much he could do at this time. If anything, the side of Infamous should have tried to make, the rest of Infamous should have tried to make a rotation down towards the bot after they saw that happen. And it looks like Vanquish is deciding, okay, well, we won't take the Abyssal Dragon just yet. We'll put our focus elsewhere. We see that we're pressure bot. Now let's see what else we can do. They're sending Praetor up into the jungle to maybe Roma for now. But it's a three-man team down here on the Abyssal Dragon. Should be more than enough. And Infamous just really isn't responding to anything. Whether right now, it just looks like they're going around to their towers, clearing their lanes. And that's all they can do. Tutoru maybe having some connection issues with some strange
poots. Yeah, but I think what happened then was basically just Vanquish overleashed the Abyssal Dragon and then had to just let it go.
To reset.
Yeah. So I'm glad, you know, the side of Vanquish, they are playing this really calculated, really slow pace, a refresh, basically, right, of what we saw in the first game. We are 8 minutes and 37 in, and they are still playing really, really safe and calculated, not trying to make any risky move, but as I say that.
That's why going to get called out. There's going to be Anubis picking up that kill itself, and now the pressure is up on this top side of the map. Now, you said that Vanquish were playing this one slow, calculated. I'd agree with you there, but there's I would almost prefer the risky, fast plays, because as long as you've got that lead and you're pushing that, you have a lot of room to make mistakes. And right now, if anything, this is minimizing the room between Infamous and Vanquish, giving Infamous a possible chance of a comeback here. As we see Malok positioning himself around the Darkslayer, isn't going to get the steal, just maybe coming by to say hi. And we do see that's going to be the Zephyr's jumping over the wall, but not really able to do anything to him. So right now, it's Infamous playing so passively that allowed Vanquish to get a hold of that Darkslayer buff, and we might even see a rotation for a third, actually make that a fourth Abyssal Dragon for themselves. So they're building up their bank, their economy, this gold lead that they're getting. As we see, they're seeing 25.6k over to 19.3. Not the biggest gap that we've seen, but it's definitely enough to feel comfortable with. My only worry is whether Vanquish are just holding on too long and they're not applying pressure when they should. Oh, okay. Well, looks like there's going to be a surrender coming through from Infamous, and game one going over to them. So, yeah, not too sure what to say about that. At least with the way things were going, it was definitely in favor of Team Vanquish. And I would have seen Infamous could have had a chance. Maybe his connectivity issues that came through, because I don't see any other reason to call a surrender in that situation.
Yep,
Start of that game, it could have gone either way. I feel like L'Oreal kind of has to get her items first and some levels before she can be a thorn into the side of people. And on the side of Vanquish, they just played a game wherein they always grouped up, and it felt like there was nothing of the same sort for Infamous, where they kind of tried to go for some picks here and there with a two-man squad, but there wasn't enough damage to actually follow through upon that. And when you saw that happen before, with the Joker in the bottom lane or in the Abyssal Dragon lane, and he was able to get away with a sliver of HP, and then I think something like that kept replicating itself, and it just kind of made it difficult for Infamous to become to actually have these type of.
Yeah, I think their 3-man squad for the early phases of the game is actually pretty solid. I mean, you got the Lindis and the L'Oreal, except that if ever your jungle rotation gets interrupted of some sort, especially on the side, if ever, for example, mid lane, I see Preda has really good wave clear, that would make room for me to roam around with my squad. Because if you compare the wave clear of these two, I feel like Preda has more to offer.
Yeah.
So if you do that, L'Oreal of course probably stay in lane. You get, if you leave the lane, then you get a sort of a little bit of chip damage onto the tower, and that's gonna. I feel like that's just a really something of a small detail to bring up. I don't think it's a very huge factor on how Infamous or Vanquish rather has managed to win that match, but it's one of those small details that probably would have piled up, and eventually it's going to be. You saw that Vanquish constantly created this pressure at the top side of the jungle. It would really ruin Lindis's jungle rotations. But even though you saw that Teamy really amplifies the gold acquisition of whoever he's gonna be with during that time, but it really didn't equate into anything that much because of the constant aggression that Vanquish has been doing.
Yeah, another thing that I should point out here is that we started a game. Okay, so we watched the game before with Alpha Q and Unity, where we saw just Unity straight from the get-go, again, kind of dominate Alpha Q in those two matches. But here with Infamous and Vanquish, it felt like Infamous had an idea what they had to do when the game started. Their rotations were there to stop at least the impressive counter jungling that might have come out from Vanquish's composition. They had a Ryoma and number who can, I feel, if even though they're not level 4, can really deal some good enough damage when they kind of want to disrupt again the jungler. But at the same time, there was a point in that game, maybe technical issues or maybe team rotation wise, kind of just made it very difficult for Infamous to kind of follow the tempo that they set to go against Vanquish, and Vanquish just kept the ball rolling. They got everything that they wanted, and there was even a point where Preda was just solo checking out jungle, not fearing any of the damage that might come out from. And yeah,
I mean, looking at Infamous's composition on paper, really good. You've got strong side laners and Maloff. You've got an awesome, not a decent jungler, Lindis, with okay clear for the jungle. Teamy with the additional support, good engage as well, nice CC just to set things going, to keep things going, and as well as the ultimate that could potentially create overcommitments from the opposition. But we didn't really see that sort of play because most of the time it's Infamous constantly trying to keep up with whatever or wherever Vanquish is going, where they're going, where the movements are going to be. And because they are unable to do their own thing or make their own composition work, it just threw their rhythm off the board. And that's the reason why Vanquish was able to keep up with the lead. Again, tempo is so important in Valor.
Yeah, and it's never ever going to stop. And I mean, nothing could really be said after than that. I mean, it just felt like Infamous there could have done better, but it also might have been because they were having some issues. We saw a lot of pauses a while ago and really can't put that out of the equation because they might have had some difficulties here. But of course, since this is a tournament, you kind of have to deal with all of that at the same time. But again, we're not blaming anything for that one. Vanquish, on the other hand, again, the rotations were really nice. The composition that they themselves really just scaled not too bad. I mean, there was a point where also you have to commend them not overcommitting to an objective where they felt like even though Infamous wasn't really performing well, they still respected them. There was a point wherein, I think it was Ira who pointed this out, where Infamous wanted to go, or rather Vanquish wanted to go Abyssal Dragon, but they decided to push first in the mid, clear out some waves, push it forward, get the lane equilibrium in their favor, and then once they have more vision around the lanes, they know where their opponent go for the Abyssal Dragon for a safe take. And this just shows how Infamous kind of respects their opponent at the same time. They know how to set up an objective. They just don't push it, even though they have the advantage rate or they have the numbers. They still want to make sure that it's gonna be objective that they can take safely.
Yeah, wave management first, and then you go for objectives. They wanna, just as you said, they wanna make sure that they're making the safe route, safe call, and try to maximize the time, the death timers of the opponent, so that they can maximize it, whatever reward they could reap in the battlefield. Especially the more waves that you push, as the more area that you potentially cover. Aside from pushing down the waves, then maybe you could move on to the jungle, and then you could Slayer and then a dragon.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So there you go.
It seems like, again, Infamous had some connection issues in the first game, but, well, to our happiness, to our delight, they actually may have fixed it already. And game number 2, draft, is now underway. So let's get into the draft.
Yes, so the Sentinel, right off the bat, being taken out. Vanquish did not want to see that. I'm expecting a Superman ban here for the side of Infamous. I believe we are going to see probably maybe Zephys. Depends on the priority on where they want to put it, because most of the time we see either Zephys getting picked out. We've seen Myriad bans already in our first series. It looks like they really want to take this Zephys. Totally understandable. Really good jungle clear, good mobility, death from above level for good level spike, but L'Oreal and Ryoma being taken as well. So no surprise picks so far. All of these picked during game number 1.
I'm kind of curious to see, because I believe during version 14, wherein we saw, I believe that was during like the Philippine Valor Cup finals,
yes,
wherein there was a lot of emphasis on picking up but there might be some correlation wherein we're not seeing the kill cost that much right now because there's no Chognar to kind of like remove the crowd controls for that kill cost. It could be wrong on that perspective, but I feel like Chognar is one of, in this version, very strong and very formidable, and nobody is picking it up. And we are seeing more of the Predator picks, the L'Oreal picks, which were more of the heroes that we've seen on the previous list.
Yeah, I think it's also because there's a lot of heroes, as it's a very tricky pick for me. I mean, Kilgroth didn't exactly perform well when we casted the Valor Cup, but you know what? I'm really looking forward to what they have in store for this, because they have Teamy as well. They want to make this work. Probably if they put Kilgroth in the jungle, that would really speed up the ramping up process of Kilgroth, which is, try to grow him into a killing machine, because combined with that cleave, with the attack speed and everything else, he's just going to be a monster. But at the same time, he's so easily countered. We've seen him being placed at side lanes, and with Ryoma, with a lot of strong dive-heavy heroes, you could easily shut down his early game. With that said, that's going to just slow down his growth, and that's the reason why you have to rely on a second damage dealer. And Kilgroth wasn't picked at the previous game, so I'm guessing the strategies and the rotations might be a little bit different for both of these sides.
Yeah, it just feels like a lot of these players or these teams coming in from this particular region hasn't yet fully grasped maybe how to use this particular hero, because we've seen before he's such a contested pick. During our two ban matches way back before on other regions, they banned Superman and Kilgroth straight up from the get-go, and it's not showing right now. I'm just gonna be super curious, like you said. It's gonna be on how Infamous sets this up. If they can babysit this Kilgroth, from a fish out of water and turn him into the great white of the depths, well, he's just gonna be gnawing, gnashing, and just ripping through players with his trident.
I think so.
Yeah, just trident, and see if he can, bring to the table some bacon, or, well, yeah, actually some bacon, because he's fish, so you don't want to bring fish to the table since But anyways, gonna give it to I Requested Duel and Luxuria. So guys, you know what to do.
Thank you for that, Sarai and Riku. We're back here once again. Got Vanquish going up against Infamous, and look at this. Vanquish going in early with such aggression before, actually, 4-man rotation there into the enemy Blue and Sage Golem. And there's going to be the return engagement coming through from Infamous, who have now gone to contest that one, but we do see Praetor getting some fair damage off. I don't think they were able to secure that for themselves, but they are going to force Infamous out of their jungle at fairly low health, and because they were the ones to make the initial play, they have the upper hand here. But once again, I request the deal when joining me is Luxuria. We got straight into the action in game number 2, and that could be an interesting way if we see the pace of the game follow that.
Yep, I'm really liking what the players are bringing out at this point. As compared to the first game, at least, you know, now they're more comfortable in the, I want to say own skin, but it's basically, they probably got the heroes that they really want to play, be on, and we can see just how comfortable they are going in for the early aggression and then counter-rotating as well from the side of Infamous. So not so much of just being a sitting duck. So that is always refreshing to see, and that is just very, very nice also. Very unfortunate for the first game for the side of Infamous, experiencing some connectivity issue, but overall, I'm expecting a lot more with that Pooty Poots.
It's going to be Sko and Tutadu going in onto Anubis, but Anubis with the turnaround gets help from his teammates, a gank for the first blood as they pick up Sko, and that's going to be Vanquish this time, I believe, actually taking the... Actually, no, last time it was Vanquish. They were on the other side, taking the initiative, and we are going to see following that is possibly the Abyssal Dragon. It could get contested here, but currently seeing at half health, and they decide to go in for the fight. There's going to be Ralph going very low on the back lines, but is relying on the rest of the team to hold that front line, and that's something to look at both the team comps when it comes through for Infamous. You've got just Ralph on the back line, with the rest of the heroes being very much frontline oriented. For the side of Vanquish, you've got that the Joker and the Praetor to be your backline heroes, but so very low is going to be Zephyr able to jump out of there with a sliver of health in the mid lane, just gets out barely alive. So very close to going for a 1-for-1 trade in this early game, but Vanquish for now are going to hold that lead in their hands.
Yep, but at least for the top side of the lane, Lupu is getting pushed out by Kilgroth. And so Kilgroth at this point in time sitting in a very, very comfortable position as compared to, say, the previous game. And with that in mind, I mean, just look at Vandover, just how low he is. And then you have Kilgroth just trying to go in.
Yeah, Kilgroth going to go in deep, but Lubu with the lifesteal putting up a decent fight. The 1v1 duel going to go down, and SY might regret it. It looks like there's a bit of poke in the mid-bot, but there's going to be the kill going over to Bendover in his victory triumph. He is going to return to the base. So it looks like Kilgroth, although you said he is doing kind of well, that confidence got to him, and he wasn't able to win out the duel. You see now Abyssal Dragon getting started up there. I was going to say the second Abyssal Dragon, but they previously decided to back off. And there's going to be the steal coming through by Six Black on the Roma, and the knockup going through by Lumber, someone on the Lumber, and there's going to be the chase down. He goes in too deep without the backup from his team. Tuturu going to get caught out, but should be able to get back up and standing. Malok sticking around to make sure he gets out there nicely. Roma going back into the fight, going to get shut down by the Praetor, and that's going to be, I believe, Noodles on that Praetor, and Bendover going in deep. That lifesteal not going to keep you alive in a 1v2 situation, and Anubis, so many low health targets everywhere in this fight. End result, 3-3, but that did kick Infamous up as they got those free kills during that fight, whereas Vanquish only got 2. So right now we actually see Infamous with the lead in terms of gold, and after collecting that Abyssal Dragon for themselves, you could say for experience and level as well.
Yep, and here we are going into another pause. But okay, so in that particular fight itself, had Ryoma not stolen that Abyssal Dragon, I really think that we'll see much more levels coming out from the side of Vanquish, and they'll be able to win the game because the Abyssal Dragon actually gives you a ton of experience or EXP. And but with that, of course, Ryoma kind of turned the tides around. Obviously, we saw just very clean rotations coming out from the side of Vanquish, and with that in mind, they were just basically dominating right from the top lane to the bot as well as the mid as well. They're just putting so much pressure, dominating not in terms of gold, but it's more so of just the pressure they are able to apply. And then here we see a random Ryoma just appears out of nowhere, use the ultimate, and bam, takes the dragon away. And that is really what that changed the tide, and basically gave Infamous 3 kills, and on top of that as well a gold lead and a free Abyssal Dragon. So really good, really good still coming out from the side of Infamous. All they really have to do right now is, with this gold lead at least, right, try their best to out-rotate that of Vanquish if possible.
Yeah, now what I see here is this has opened up a window of opportunity for Infamous, whereas if they let Vanquish take that Abyssal Dragon without contest, that could be the starting of a very early snowball for them. As we saw in the previous game, Vanquish were the ones to hold control as they took that match, and looks like Udoma might get caught out here. He's going to be able to dash backwards, isn't going to go in to try steal that sentry. And for now, Tuturu in the mid lane, putting down some pressure onto the Praetor. Not really the follow-up damage though, and that's going to actually bait in their teammates and it cause them to get ganked upon, but both teams are able to get out of that one safely for now. So the next question is, with 10 seconds left on the next Abyssal Dragon, whether that's going to be the key point of the map to see the next fight break out. But I could be wrong. It's in the top lane. Tuturu and Sixlack going to be up there. Do you think it's Sixlack or maybe said as Black?
Well, whichever they are more comfortable with. I don't think it's wrong either way, but we do see Malak actually burning that ultimate to try to get away. And once again, Bandova, really tough time in that top lane with 6 lag. And 6 lag, then wouldn't that be like one more lag
than the prize pool? But we'll have to see here. Ralph Gain dive jungle, fighting over that Sage Golem, and I think that is going to be Zephyrus on the side of Vanquish to take that one away, and turning around, picking up not quite the kill onto Tuturu, but the down, and Sko going to be that front line for his team on that Malak. Nice to see the Malak coming into a bit more play in this game number 2, match number 2, and right now, I think the key parts to look at here are the top lane, where we see Bendover able to take the first tower of the game, and just the duels he's having here with Sixlack, and is going to get caught out by that of Ralph and Tuturu for the gank. They finish off, now taking the kill lead, but they are down in objectives and overall pressure because that resource rotation up to the top has allowed their mid to also fall. And it's looking a bit dire for them now, as Vanquish going to try their second attempt on the Abyssal Dragon here. And whether we'll see Infamous catch wind of this, I think Sko knows something's going on, but isn't able to respond. So 1-1 on those Abyssal Dragons and catching up in that gold lead.
Yep, softening the gold lead that the side of Infamous has on them. Even then, that is 600, and Lubies may just get ganked here.
Yeah, it's going to get ganked, but Timmy not going to be able to land that onto them, and they're just going to back off. It's right now, it's so much back and forth trading action that I feel like the only key moments we'll see fights either in this top side, where we've seen so much action, or down into the bot near the Abyssal Dragon, and that's just going to be what happens here as we see Sixlack and Tuturu go for a 2v2 situation soon to turn into 4v2. Not how you want to do it. There's going to be the Roma taken down instantly, followed by the Teamy, and now you can see Vanquish starting to get back on that. And that single Abyssal Dragon steal that Infamous got earlier in the game just wasn't enough to really... it was a good opportunity for them, but they haven't been able to utilize it, as Raph finding themselves in a 1v4 situation. They pick up a kill onto the Lubu, taking down Bendover. So doing a good job there, and you can see why that's such a strong mid lane pick.
Yep, it is a very, very strong mid lane pick, but you know, the side of Vanquish really have to start picking their battles. I mean, they are not really playing as clean as they can possibly, but Noodles, yeah.
Yeah, there's gonna be Noodles down scope underneath his tower, and you can see standing on the sidelines, we've got someone in Samataki just waiting, trying to bait in the Roma perhaps before even taking this tower, but they're just gonna go in and finish it off. Seeing that Abyssal Dragon is up soon, they might make the rotation mid, push that out, and then rotate back to Abyssal. Could be the call here as they're scaring off Infamous from that mid lane, and just leaving this is Infamous. They make the call that they're going to respond to top, make sure the pressure's off there, but they're leaving this Abyssal Dragon fairly open. Roma in the bush is waiting, but Bendover will catch him out. He's going to be able to get out there safely. I'm not sure. Will they be able to steal the second time for the third dragon?
Ooh, Tuturu going in with the stun.
Right in there. He's right up in it, but doesn't have the damage to really commit to that one. Not going to be able to take it out, and there's going to be the chase down for the kill confirmed onto the team. There's going to be a great ult coming through by the by Scope on that Malik to support his team. Could swing things around. They're just trying to keep Roma alive. Look at the lifesteal of Malik. It's not going to be enough in a 1v2 situation. And meanwhile, Zephys on the bot manages to secure a kill onto that of Raph. And now they, I'd say once again, it's fairly even trade outs, but Vanquish remain on top.
Yep, they are starting to get back the gold lead that they have been missing out, although not all too much, but it's just still a 2,000 gold lead, and it will bode well for the side of Vanquish. At least 2 Abyssal Dragons to their names and 4 towers as well. As for the side of Infamous, however, not doing all too well. 0 towers, but 1 stolen Abyssal Dragon. But overall, they are not looking all too shabby. If you were to ask me, I think they are winning most of the team fights at the end of it all. It is just that they do not try to find for the team fights before a major objectives.
Yeah, and we're going to see that Teeny just in a lot of fights, and it's got me done with the pick. Always going down first. I know he has the able to get back up on his feet, has that second wind kind of ability there, and it's actually going to debate the team of Vanquish into a fight as they pick up the lumber. Looks like they're also going to follow through and pick up that of Sko on the Malok. But look at this, the chase down coming from the rest of Vanquish. Noodles and Anubis still fairly high on HP. Bendover gonna come around the other side of that tower and smack down onto Roma as they pick up the kill. And it should be an easy tower take from there, as Raph and Kilgroth, Raph and SY I should say, are the only ones standing. Looks like SY maybe with some technical difficulties there, as Raph actually the only one at the outer rims, at the high ground turrets of the base. But we see here the fight, the replay going down, and look at this. It's kind of Infamous, Vanquish, I should say, initially overcoming, and that's why they lose a few members there. But they're able to trade out, and Infamous Vanquish come out on top of Infamous. My bad.
Yep, you know what's really irritating about Timmy really is Bigger Bro, the ultimate, right? Where he just really he can just revive himself and another ally. So I think that is the part that, you know, the side of Infamous really, the side of Vanquish at least, really struggle with, because we saw in the initial part of the game when the Abyssal Dragon was taken. No, still just yet. But when the initial Abyssal Dragon was taken, and then there was a steal by Ryoma, a fight was forced out, right? And we saw Timmy actually with, we saw Timmy actually being a bro, reviving the teammates, and then just putting themselves, or rather giving Infamous the edge in that team fight.
Yeah, I think the key thing here is that Infamous need to find the engagement. They want the positioning they want. You really want the Malik on the front line alongside the Teamy, not just Teamy on the solo, because he will be targeted, taken down, and it opens up that opportunity for the side of Vanquish to just go all in on the other squishies that you have there. Malik gonna go in, however, gets the knock up on a fair few. But look at this high ground tower just getting burnt down so very low. But Sko gonna pick up the kill onto Vendova. He's gonna get traded out. And we can see the L'Oreal doing a lot of damage. This is what I like to see. As long as she's not being targeted, she's free to chase down. Should go too deep, needs to be kind of careful there, as you can still see Joker and that of the Praetor, very high HP. And look at that burst damage onto the Roma. They could be looking to end out the game here, but Sko has other things to say about that as he's trying to fight them off, keep them at bay for now, waiting for that L'Oreal to join back in on the fight. Here comes Ralph coming to the rescue, and for now they are holding on. They've lost their mid lane quite harshly, and I think for the side of Infamous to come back, it's really about waiting for those opportunities where Vanquish are pressuring the objectives to get that extra damage in for themselves.
I mean, half the time what Vanquish really is doing is basically overcommitting, over-investing, if that's actually a term used in MOBA, because what they're doing is basically they're not really picking their team fights. Instead, they're going all in. If there's an exchange, and it's an exchange, it's fine. It doesn't matter to them as long as they secure something. And that is one loophole that, you know, the side of Infamous can actually take advantage of, which we haven't quite seen yet. So maybe Malak don't have to quite use the ultimate just yet. Maybe wait for it. And then you have to do on that, you know, on that teammate that has the putty put. So basically hold in your gas, come out with a big stun, you know, a whole lot of stun. So Timmy can actually be in the front line, try to get those engages off.
I'm not saying he can't be in the front line. My problem line and doesn't really receive the backup he needs a lot of the time, but that's just the aggression from Vanquish, the power that they have to play with in their hands right now. You can see Lubu, the solo split push lane up in the top, almost getting that tower, but it's going to get pushed back, punished for it. And as you said, Vanquish perhaps overcommitting to some of these objectives in team fights, and now with Infamous, who I would like to say have the man advantage. It's sad that SY on the kill graph not able to help them out here. So they're constantly a man disadvantage, but now could be the only opportunity they get to turn anything around. Is there's going to be Sko going in with the initiation. Good kill combo there coming through by Ralph and Tutudu as they try and chase down Lumber. He's going to be fairly tanky. Zephyrus is probably the one you want to go for, as we see Tutudu trying to go in with the CC once again. And I think they're going to be able to make something happen here if Sko joins in on the fight. Tutudu going to go low, gets the revive, gets back up, and is able to secure that kill. So they're picking apart Vanquish and doing a great job for what is a 4v5 situation.
Yep, I mean, they are doing an excellent job. They are basically taking advantage of what Vanquish is doing, but they did not realize it quick enough, right? So what we are seeing right now, I think the perfect example of an engagement that Infamous can actually pull off would be having Teamy going into the front line with Putty Puts and then landing an AoE stun, okay, using being a bro, and then maybe after landing AoE stun, then have backup from his allies, and then with that, when anybody's running away, have Malak just jump in, maybe have him finish up as well, or just go in with a big ultimate, get him more CC, and then with that, if Putty puts on cooldown, use your chain, get in a stun or two, and there you go. It would be like the perfect team fight. However, they didn't quite execute the team comp to perfection this year.
Well, that could fall apart here as Tutudu getting caught out, and that could be the key composition for that team to go in with the fight, but Malak is going to respond and L'Oreal alongside that for the damage. Look at the return between the two of these, but they're going to have to back out now as it looks like Zeph is joining in the fight. Tutudu coming back in as he's regained some health. They should be able to get something done. You can see, as you mentioned, going in with the stun for the initiation. So many low targets across the board for Vanquish. And they could catch out Praetor on the back run as Tutudu going there. I don't know if he has been damaged to solo him, but here comes Sko. Should be able to work things out with a stun. There's going to be knockup. Bendover got caught in that one, but they're not going to follow through anymore. They're just taking things as they go, making sure their base is completely open. And right now, I think if Infamous could get the Dark Slayer after getting a few kills and death timer resets per se, they could be able to perhaps turn around this game in the uphill battle that they're fighting. Tuturu on that teamy, playing a great role as the initiator that you mentioned, and I think especially in this later game has a lot more tankiness, but right now is going to get caught out once again. And that's a big problem as we see 52 seconds on the board as until he's gonna be back up. And for the side of Infamous, that's just such a key part of them being able to confirm a lot of these kills. Roma and Bendover going in for the late game duel, perhaps a bit of a rematch here, and it looks like Bendover gonna be the one to win it out once again. So Roma not learning his lesson, but is fighting for his honor, but it's going to be the game cost for them as Sko and Raph doing their best to hold this one off in a 2v4 situation, but it's going to be Raph going down to the hands of Anubis, and the rest of the team dive all onto Sko, and there's going to be the core to follow. Game number 2 into the hands of Vanquish, and well, GG, I must say, well played to Infamous for that one.
They definitely put up a really, really good fight, although they, experienced some connectivity issues, but they went down. They definitely gave Vanquish, put up a pretty good fight for the side of Vanquish. However, their team comp could have been executed much, much better. But, let's hear it from Asurai and Riku and see what they actually think about it.
So there you go. We are now gonna try to at least break that what happened there further. Okay, aside from not having the Kilgroth for Infamous side, that was
Yes,
yeah, Infamous.
Yes.
I felt like they had a really legit chance there of winning. I feel like it was just because they were a 4 versus 5 for the longest time ever. When the Kilgroth had some had issues or technical issues. I mean, they were like the Malik just goes in at the very primal spots. The L'Oreal follows up, and her damage, her mobility, and how difficult it is to kind of like pin her down makes it so difficult. And every other member there of Vanquish was, to a certain extent, was very squishy.
Yeah, there were a couple of mistakes actually being done. I think one instance, because during the early phase of the game, Vanquish obviously did a pretty good job in trying to equalize everything. They focused more on the top side of the map, just trying to put some pressure at Ryoma until the second tier turret. They managed to keep getting rewarded. But at the same time, because of their over-aggression, L'Oreal kept getting all the kills. At some point, she was sort of like going ultimate already on certain points in the game. But at the same time, it was Vanquish getting all the objectives, getting all of the map control. So with that said, it just really, on the other hand, Vanquish, okay, they have the advantage, but long-term wise, they're actually putting in a lot of gold in L'Oreal pockets. And you saw during the later phases of the game where L'Oreal managed to be a huge problem for Vanquish, and they had so many instances where, okay, this is so difficult. How can we close the game? And at that point, they could have turned it around for Infamous side. And I say that they did a pretty good job punishing certain plays from the side of Vanquish where they might be a little bit too aggressive, and the rewards were just not there.